The story you're about to hear is a compilation of documented true facts about historical characters, events, or locations. Please sit back and listen as I narrate this story to you. Meyer Lansky was a significant mafia figure in the early to mid-19th century. He was a member of both the Jewish and the Italian mafias, earning him the nickname Mob's Accountant. His keen financial acumen played a key role in the formation of a nationwide crime ring in the United States. Meyer Lansky was born Meyer Socialjansky on July 4, 1902 in Grodno, Russia, now Belarus. His family immigrated to the United States in 1911 as the son of Jewish parents who had been victims of pogroms or anti-Jewish mobs. They made their home in the Lower East Side of New York City. Due to his parents' inability to recollect Socialjansky's birth date, he was given the July 4th birthday for his immigration paperwork. Socialjansky's name was eventually Americanized to Meyer Lansky, and he became a naturalized citizen in the late 1920s. Lansky had a difficult childhood on Manhattan's Lower East Side, witnessing horrific violence as a boy, but he was also known for his exceptional mathematical ability and self-assured demeanor. After graduating from 8th grade, he went to work as a tool and die maker, eventually becoming an auto mechanic. By 1918, Lansky was organizing a youth gang with Bugsy Siegel, another Jewish kid, who would go on to become a mafia figure. When Lansky was a kid, he encountered Bugsy. They were longtime friends and bootlegger collaborators, and together, they ran the Bugs and Meyer mob, which had a reputation for being one of the most brutal prohibition gangs. Theft was the beginning of their activities, which soon expanded to encompass gambling and bootlegging. They were also notorious for employing personnel to carry out acts of violence and murder on behalf of other organizations. Lansky was also good friends with Charles Lucky Luciano, whom he encountered as a youngster on his way home from school when Luciano tried to extort money from him for protection. Luciano admired the younger boy's defiance in the face of his threats, and the two forged a lasting friendship. Lansky married Anna Citron, a Jewish woman, who was a friend of Bugsy Siegel's lover, Esther Krakower, in 1929. Buddy, their first kid, was born with cerebral palsy, which they discovered when he was a few months old. Anna held her husband responsible for Buddy's illness, believing that God was punishing the family for Lansky's illicit deeds. Even though they had another son and a daughter, the couple separated in 1947. Anna was committed to a psychiatric institution not long after. Lansky married Thelma Schwartz in 1948 and lived with her until his death. Lansky and Siegel eventually teamed up with Italian criminal Charles Lucky Luciano. On the instruction of Lansky, Luciano was behind the development of a nationwide crime syndicate and allegedly resolved to assassinate Sicilian mafia boss Joe the Boss Maselia. Maselia was assassinated by 4 hitmen in 1931, one of which being Bugsy Siegel. Lansky became one of the mafia's primary financiers as his power expanded, giving him the moniker the Mob's Accountant. He oversaw mafia funds, sponsored significant projects, and bribed officials and key individuals. In addition, he used his innate aptitude for mathematics and economics to build thriving gambling businesses in Florida and New Orleans. He was known for running honest gaming establishments where players were not concerned about manipulated games. Lansky was known for being a behind-the-scenes financier who shied away from the spotlight and the exposure that came with open violence. Lansky had set up gambling operations in Florida, New Orleans, and Cuba by 1936. Lansky allegedly utilized his mob ties to disrupt Nazi rallies in New York during World War II. He made it a point to find out where the rallies were taking place and then disrupt them using mafia muscle. Lansky became involved in anti-Nazi efforts sanctioned by the US government as the war progressed. He was recruited by the Navy to take part in an initiative pitting organized crime leaders against Axis agents after attempting to enlist in the US Army, but was turned down owing to his age. The program, dubbed Operation Underworld, enlisted the help of the Italian mafia that ruled the port. Through a high-ranking United States Navy officials and his friend Lucky Luciano, who was in prison at that time but still controlled the Italian mafia, Lansky helped organize a deal with the government. The mafia would provide security for the warships that were being built near the docks in New York Harbor in exchange for Luciano's release from prison. Along the eastern shoreline and the Caribbean coast, German submarines were destroying Allied ships in large numbers, and there was widespread dread of attack or sabotage by Nazi sympathizers. The ONI was linked to Lansky through Luciano, who allegedly told Joseph Lanza to prevent sabotage on the New York harbor. The mafia supplied protection along the piers in New York Harbor, where ships were being built as a result of Lansky's involvement. Following the war, he invested in real estate, including Siegel's Las Vegas casino expansions, and continued to make money via both legal and illicit means. Lansky was imprisoned for a short time in 1953 on a gambling accusation. Lansky reached an arrangement with Cuban leader Fulgencio Batista when his gambling empire extended to Cuba. He enticed other mobsters to invest in Cuba, where he eventually owned or controlled at least 3 casinos: the Habana Riviera, the Hotel Nacional, and the Montmartre Club. For a decade, Batista and Lansky had a well-known friendship and business partnership. During a trip at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York in the late 1940s, it was agreed that Batista would hand Lansky and the mafia control of the country's casinos and racetracks in exchange for kickbacks. Batista would allow large-scale gambling in Havana, and his government would match any hotel investment over $1 million, including a casino license, dollar for dollar. Lansky would put himself at the heart of Cuba's gambling industry. He promptly convened a meeting of his allies in Havana. The Havana Conference was held on December 22, 1946 at the Hotel Nacional. This was the first full-scale meeting of the American underworld leaders since the Chicago meeting in 1932. Present were such figures as Joe Adonis, Albert the Mad Hatter Anastasia, Frank Costello, Joseph Joe Bananas Bonanno, Vito Genovese, Mo Dalitz, and Thomas Lucchesi from New York, Santo Traficante Jr. from Tampa, Carlos Marcello from New Orleans, and Stefano Magadino, Bonanno's cousin, from Buffalo. From Chicago, there were Accardo and the Fischetti brothers, Trigger Happy Charlie and Rocco, and representing the Jewish interest, Lansky, Dalitz, and Dandy. From Florida, Phil Castell. Lansky offered then-President Carlos Prosocaras a $250,000 bribe to resign down so Batista could reclaim power in 1952. After regaining control of the government in a military coup in March 1952, Batista promptly reinstated gambling. Lansky was given a $25,000 annual pay to act as an unofficial gambling minister by Batista. Later, Lansky got interested in Las Vegas, Nevada as a viable location. He assisted Bugsy Siegel in persuading the mob to fund the Pink Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas, a gambling operation that would eventually lead to Siegel's death and pave the way for the modern-day Las Vegas. Initially, that project did not go well. Cost overruns pushed the project's budget from $1.2 million to $6 million, displacing several of Lansky's fellow mob partners. Some suspected Siegel scheming a portion of their investment through the telephone race wire that provided sports results to bookies and casinos. Several sources suggest that Lansky approved of Siegel's assassination on June 20, 1947, at the Havana Conference of major organized crime officials from around the United States. Although he never publicly admitted to ordering the killing, Lansky stated that if it had been up to him, Siegel would not have been killed. The closest thing to an admission of guilt you'll hear from any of the mob. Other theories surrounding Siegel's murder suggest Lansky had nothing to do with it. In any case, after Siegel's death, Lansky's colleagues promptly took over the Flamingo and the property continued to generate cash for Lansky and the others for decades. With Siegel's death, leadership in Vegas shifted from the 5 families of New York to the Chicago outfit. Despite playing a far less role than in prior years, Lansky is said to have advised and assisted Chicago boss Tony Accardo in establishing his grip. With the Cuban Revolution of 1959, Lansky's gambling enterprises became a multi-million-dollar fiasco. Fidel Castro, the Cuban revolutionary, nationalized all of Lansky's gambling holdings on the island. Crackdowns on illegal gambling in the United States, especially casinos in Florida, also harmed Lansky. Lansky's riches expanded in tandem with his mafia power. By the 1960s, his empire had expanded to include illicit gambling, drug smuggling, and pornography, as well as legal hotel, golf course, and other business assets. By this time, Lansky's net worth was commonly estimated to be in the millions, a rumor that no doubt contributed to his arrest in 1970 on charges of income tax evasion. He escaped to Israel in the hopes of taking advantage of the country's law of return, which grants citizenship to anybody of Jewish ancestry. However, his application for permanent residency was denied after 2 years due to his criminal past, and he was deported to the United States in November 1972, and after a 3-day journey, was arrested upon reaching Miami. Despite being convicted of grand jury contempt, the decision was overturned and other charges were dismissed due to his poor health, which was discovered after an examination indicated he was suffering from a variety of chronic maladies. Meyer Lansky died of lung cancer at Miami Beach on January 15, 1983 at the age of 80, leaving a widow and 3 children. Federal officials claimed that the mobster still had $300 million in hidden assets. But Lansky, the man who constructed and sold casinos like chess pieces, maintained that he was broke. He had $57 in cash at the time of his death. Hey everyone! I just wanted to express how grateful I am that you took time out of your day to listen to my narration. This is Nikki of Twysted Mind, and I'd like to wish you a wonderful rest of your day. Salamat!